Good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Al Young Show. And today we're coming live to you from the St. Petersburg Museum of History. I have a special guest with me. Well, of course, I have Carl with me, who's always there.
Yeah, I'm always here.
But we have someone, and we're going to do this real quickly because he does have to go. We have Rudy Salas with us, and Rudy is from a group called AVES. And more than likely, very few of you ever heard of AVES, but Rudy is a very special person. Rudy is with another group of individuals who today they perform. But I'm gonna let Rudy tell you who this group of professionals are. And very few people, like I said, have heard of them, but they are a unique group of veterans. Rudy, tell us who this group of veterans are.
How you doing? My name is Rudy Salas, and thank you for inviting me on the show. We are AVES, Amputee Veterans of America Support Team. And also in AVES, I'm the commander of the only amputee color guard in America. And today we were very fortunate to present the colors for the American Soldier exhibit here in St. Pete. And we have done other presentations presenting our colors throughout the Tampa area, and that includes the Buccaneers football games, the Rays baseball games, and we always do the presentation, the pre-opening ceremony for these games. Also, AVES, we are located or put together at James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, and we were a group of Vietnam veterans. Most of us were amputees, and when we served and retired after Vietnam, we remembered that they didn't have a lot of organizations to help the younger vets returning home. So we decided to get ourselves together, call ourselves AVES, Amputee Veterans, and we're trying to help the younger military guys coming home and let them know that there is life after a limb loss. And so we're there to encourage them, to show them that we have lived a long and productive life, and we could help them with a lot of questions they have. I remember when we came home, I never even heard of the word prosthetic before. So now we're not only telling them what the word prosthetic is, but we're showing them and the advances they have made throughout the years. So we give these soldiers, Marines, airmen, Navy men, a chance to rehab, get better, get well, and then we start introducing them to the real world where they're going to be among all of us living a productive life once again, and hopefully we've been able to help a lot of these young guys go on with their lives.
Rudy, approximately how many members do you have in your team?
At present time, we have 75 members. Not all of them are amputees. We have amputees, of course, but the other members are associate members, and they're supporters of the amputee veteran. And also they help us do a lot of things where the veterans might have a difficult time doing, and some of our associate members help out.
Now, are you constantly looking for new members, or is it basically kind of a closed society?
No, constantly we're looking for new members. There's no membership fee. You do have to have a form to fill out so we could get your email and contact information. And it's open to all veterans. It started out as a amputee veterans group, but then we realized that there's so many other veterans coming back and they have no one to help them out with. So we decided to open our membership to all veterans. And so that's where we are currently.
Okay, and you're based out of, like you said, James A. Haley.
James A. Haley over there on Bruce B. Downs in the North Tampa area.
Okay, and I see you have a phone number here, and that's 813-928-1631.
Of course, and we have a website. It's avesonline.org, and also we have some connecting links there where you could go to Facebook, and under Facebook, we're AVES Vets. So feel free to look up our website. If you know any amputee veterans or any other veterans that are having a hard time struggling or would like some help, please have them contact us, and we could see what we could do for them.
Well, what we'd like to do is have you come back on a future show, and you can bring some of the veterans with you. And
Very good.
Some additional time.
I would be privileged to come back and speak with you guys, and I love what you guys are doing. And also, a few of our members are also members of the DAV.
Well, listen, you know what? I encourage any veteran, not just the DAV, but any organization that's out there, your organization, any organization, you name it, to become a member. Just become active, get involved, do something with themselves. Because listen, man, it's people like yourself and veterans helping veterans.
That's the bottom line.
That make the difference.
That's the bottom line.
We thank you from the bottom of our heart.
I have to ask one question. What
Yes, sir.
unit were you with?
Marine Corps,
Okay, that's cool.
3-7.
I was 1st Infantry Division,
All right.
65, 66.
I was in Vietnam, 66, 67.
Oh, yeah.
All righty, my pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Rudy.
Take
We
care.
look forward to seeing you again, man.
Sure thing.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Have a great one.
This is a song for the warrior. God bless the warrior. This is a song for the warrior. He's a warrior. He runs to the fight. A warrior. He stands with all his might. Warrior. He's a warrior. Well, she's a warrior, a mother and wife. As a warrior, she offers us her life. A warrior, she's a warrior. Whoa. God bless the warrior. This is a song for the warrior. This is a song for the warrior. They are warriors, that's their claim to fame. Our heroes marching in freedom's name. Warriors, they are warriors. Well, they are warriors. That's a soldier's right to be a warrior. They keep the enemy in sight. Warriors, they are warriors. Whoa. Their fight is to survive, to struggle every day to keep our freedom alive. Salute the flag instead. The freedom we enjoy is held within their hands. Their life is on the line. Their family and their friends, they leave them all behind. They give with all their might. The men and women who serve our shining light. They are warriors. support the men and women who strive to keep our nation strong. We honor family members who are left behind to carry on. May we never forget the prisoner of war, missing in action and killed in action. God bless our retired veterans, and God bless the USA. Through the struggle and fight to survive, they keep freedom alive. They march into foreign land with liberty in their hands. Now thank the soldier today. Now bless the soldier today.
Okay, and welcome back. And now, during this session, we have Mr. Bill Palmer, who's with the Honor Flights of West Central Florida, and he is a speaker coordinator, and along with him is the president, and that's Beverly Ann Fry, and she's the president of Honor Flights. But Bill Palmer is going to probably talk to us and give us an overall view of what Honor Flights is about. And, well, in case most of you don't know, just to give you just a little brief something about them, these are the guys, the World War II veterans who are always giving their flight to the Washington Monument in the Washington area. But they're going to tell you more about it because these are the experts and these are the people who take care of these glorious fighters. Bill?
Thank you, Al. Pleasure to be here. Our organization, to boil it down, does fly our veterans. Right now, they're World War II veterans up to Washington, D.C. to let most of them that haven't seen, or even if they have, take a day at our expense to, and we honor them. And let me tell you that our mission now technically is to transport America's war veterans to Washington, D.C., to visit those memorials dedicated to honor their service and sacrifices. My job is to speak to the public on our behalf. We have a group of speakers that I have to manage. For instance, we have fundraising affairs. We have spread the word affairs, where we will go to meetings, be it the Rotary or other clubs like that. Any group of people that can, one, find World War II vets that we haven't flown, and by the way, we've flown in the last 3 years over 1,000 vets, 80 at a time for the most part, with 80 guardians, and we can talk about that later too. But my job is to get out there and let the public know we want to find the veterans. We are a nonprofit, so we need to do fundraising, and we also need people to volunteer.
Okay, can you dispel the one thing I think that most people tend to think, that everything is funded by the federal government?
Bev, would you like to speak on that?
I will. That is a misconception that a lot of people have. Actually, all of our funding that we do to do an honor flight is privately donated. So our fundraising effort is really important to the group. It costs us about $35,000 per flight, so as you can tell, it's a big expense for us. As Bill was saying, each flight has 80 guardians that accompany the 80 veterans. The guardians are asked to pay a $400 fee to cover their costs of the flight. Bill did say that the veterans do fly for free, which is a very important thing for the veterans to know. many times that the veterans want to pay for their flight, which is against Honor Flight Network rules, so they can't do that. The other misconception is that we are government funded and that a lot of our flights have been canceled supposedly because of government cutbacks. That is not true. We take no government money. Like I said, it's all privately done. I just want to give you a little bit of history of Honor Flight. The first Honor Flight came out of Springfield, Illinois in 2005. There was just a need after the World War II memorial was built in Washington, that they wanted to be able to share this experience with the veterans in the country. And of course, they're all getting very, very old. I hate to say that, and we're losing so many per day. The Honor Flight of West Central Florida chapter our hub was founded in 2010, and our first flight went out of Tampa International in 2011, May 2011, with just a few veterans on it, but it was our inaugural flight, and it was very, very successful. And Bill said since then we've flown actually 1,097 veterans. Most of them are World War II, but we do actually take Korean and Vietnam veterans if they're terminally ill. But right now our priority is to get the World War II veterans up to D.C.
April 1st begins Sun and Fun in Lakeland, Florida, and there are many, many World War II veterans that come there. I'm a assistant producer of the Timeless Voices of Aviation, FAA Museum, and that's what we do. We try to grab the World War II veterans because they are leaving us.
Yes.
They are leaving us.
Almost 900 a day.
And in Lakeland, I live in a community where I'm a teeny bopper. Everybody there, most people there are World War II veterans, and I've done interviews with them in the aviation field. But it's important that we get the World War II vets.
Yes, and we are very, very. Our emphasis is to reach out to all the veterans groups that we can to get the veterans, because so many of them don't even know that we exist. And my husband is a prime example. He'll see a World War II, or he'll see a veteran, and he'll say, "Oh, do you know about Honor Flight?" And they'll say, "No, I don't. Tell us about it." So he explains it all to them, and they're all very interested in going on a flight.
Have you been to Sun and Fun? Do you have a booth there?
We do. We did participate last year in
great.
Sun and Fun. Yes.
That's great.
So we did do a booth.
Can I add something? We also are flying 6 flights are scheduled for this year, starting in April, May, and June. We have funding for most of that, but we need a lot more funding too, and that's why we're trying so hard to not only find the World War II vets, but also get out and pass the word. It is free. Please tell your neighbors and your friends.
Well,
Yeah.
then, so right now the goal is to try and find as many World War II vets that haven't been on a flight yet, to get them before actually their time runs out.
That is correct.
And like you said, they're expiring at a high rate.
Yes, unfortunately. And actually, Honor Flight of West Central Florida services 9 counties in the central part of Florida, so we do draw from many, many counties. If there are any veterans that are interested, they can go to our website and download an application for the veterans. And also, if anybody is listening and would like to become a guardian, the application for the guardian is also on our website, which is Bill, www.honorflightwcf.org. Okay.
And now the other thing that I'm very curious about is you basically go to what I'm trying to really get down is you have to actually go out and beat the pavement to get vets.
Correct.
Okay, and now are people always coming to you and saying, "I've got a vet," or you just go to different organizations to get them to send vets to you? How have you really been getting them? I know it sounds a little strange, but how have they been trickling into?
That's a very good question.
It is a good question.
Let's talk about their age and how many of them are in assisted living homes.
facilities. Okay.
veterans organizations. Any place we have a pocket, naturally, we want to hit. However, we also have a lot of people that are much more aware today than 5 years ago. There's been some good publicity up at in Washington, D.C. World War II vets had flown up there, and they were able to get in when it didn't look like they would. So
Yes.
we have a lot of patriots that bring us their father. A lot of our guardians are children, grown-up children, and so we'll chase them down in Publix or anywhere we see them. When we see that hat on their head, and God bless them, we've picked up a lot of people just like that.
Well, you know, it's strange, but I've kind of realized when people wear that hat, you know, because I started wearing my hat saying retired, it's so easy to recognize people because all of a sudden there's a person that says something. You know, I'm a World War II veteran, you know, and you say, oh, there's a World War II or there's a Korean veteran, you know, and you can grab them.
Yes.
But, you know, when they don't have anything, I mean, it's just another face in the crowd.
And I think the common thread that we're finding is after these veterans, so many of the veterans, the World War II veterans especially, have never talked about their experiences.
No.
And after they take this flight, it opens a floodgate for them, and the stories come out. We had one flight, and my husband was on it. He was a guardian. He was talking to this one man, and the veterans had a nickname on his name tag, and his son said to him, Dad, I never knew that was your nickname. Well, you've never told me that. And he said, oh, yeah, they've called me this for all those years, but I never told anybody in the family. And so the stories are amazing, and it's amazing that we've met people that have been at Iwo Jima. Actually, there was a man who he was with a friend. They were in a foxhole, and his buddy said to him, "Raise your head. They're putting up the flag." And he said, and so he popped up his head out of the foxhole,
Uh-oh.
and the bullet buzzed by his ear. We've had people that have been on the Bataan Death March that tell of these stories. I mean, it's just it's an amazing experience for the veterans. It's an amazing experience for the volunteers and the guardians. And the guardians have, once they've met their vets, they have this bond that they go out to dinner and they keep in touch. And it's just an amazing, amazing experience.
And I think it's important that these guys be honored before their time.
Yes.
And you know what? You mentioned something a little earlier about the last group of individuals to go off having some difficulties with, what was it, getting things straightened out when they went. Because what was it that, I think when they got to the monument, being closed,
the sequestration, yes.
You know, so I think that kind of brought a lot of things to the forefront for a lot of World War II people, because a lot of us, you know, we put it at the back of our minds, or we don't think about it because it's not something that you think about every day. And then you may see something that says World War II vets went to the monument, or World War II vets went to Washington, and you say, yay, and then you just keep on going. But then all of a sudden, when they can't get to someplace, then you feel bad for them, because you're saying, hey, these guys put it out there. I mean, they went through a lot of hardship.
They did.
And now they can't get in to see things, and they can't go places. It's not fair.
And that was, those barricades that they put up around the Washington, or about the World War II memorial, were not going to stop those veterans. I mean, they were determined that they were going to go in. And a lot of the comments were, well, guess what? We didn't get stopped in Germany. We're not going to get stopped in the World War II memorial.
And that's what brought it to the forefront.
Yes.
And I think then all of a sudden people realize, hey, we need to take care of these guys.
We have gotten a lot of good publicity from that, even though it was such a negative in Washington, but it was really good for Honor Flight.
Were you there at that time?
I was not. No, my husband was on that flight. So yeah.
Well, but you know, like I said again, I think sometimes when things go awry, good comes out of it.
Absolutely.
You know? And I
Yes.
think good came out of that. And I just hope that now that you've come here with this, that we can go out there and find some more people and find maybe some more sponsors
Well,
or whatever we can do.
Thank you. I'm just going to tell you again, our first flight out of St. Pete Clearwater Airport is April 22nd. The next flight is May 27th, and our third flight for the spring is June 24th. So again, if you're interested, if you know a veteran, please go on to our website. Just Google Honor Flight of West Central Florida, and our applications and all our information about our flights will pop up.
Okay, then.
And one last thing from me, we have 300 applications that are already in. So, number one, get a hold of us. I will be glad to come out, or one of the other speakers, show a wonderful slideshow and video that usually has people in tears.
Right.
And that emotion helps our organization also. We'll come out, just give us a call, and get an application in. Sometimes they put it aside, so I'm stressing there is a waiting list. There are some vets that have to drop off the waiting list for sad reasons. So get those applications in.
Okay, then. Listen, we'll put the word out and let's see what happens. And hopefully no one drops off. And hopefully everybody gets a good ride and an enjoyable trip before they don't have that opportunity waiting for them next year. So, both of you, I appreciate that you came, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again.
Absolutely.
And I
Thank you
hope
so
guys
much.
will come back.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you so very much, Carl.
My Vietnam unit, my Bravo company, is holding their reunion in August in Washington D.C.
Oh, how nice.
They want me to escort them around the city because I know the city, and I had to think about that, but I really will.
I think you should.
Yes.
Very good.
Again, like I said, this has been Beverly Ann Fry, President, and we had Bill Palmer, who is the speaker coordinator, and they have both been from Honor Flights. And again, if you need to contact them, please look up that information. Everyone, please be aware, this is very time-sensitive information. Most of the time, we tend to take our time in doing things. This is one of those things where we just can't take our time. It's time sensitive, and let's honor these vets while we can, and let's make the best of it. So if you know someone, please help them out.
I'm going to give you a phone number, 727-498-6079.
Okay?
I'll repeat it, 727-498-6079. That's how to get in touch with us. Time is not on our side. Thank you.
And thank the both of you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll be talking to you again.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rugged red glare, the bombs
Welcome. We're right back. And we have another guest with us today. And this young lady is an entrepreneur. And she has a unique product that she is involved with. And matter of fact, I'm going to let Carl introduce her.
Yes, I would like to introduce Nancy Giles.
That's good.
Okay, I got it right. She's with Heaven Drop, and we will let her explain to you what that's all about. Nancy.
Okay. Heaven Dropped is, it's really cool to be the director of Heaven Dropped. Not everybody gets a title like that. The parent of Heaven Dropped is Evergreen Life Services, and they serve people with disabilities in 7 states. And I got the awesome job of being the director of Heaven Dropped, and I'm based at USF St. Petersburg, and my offices are there, and they've donated them to help because they believe in the cause so much. And what we do is our mission, it's all a nonprofit, and our mission is giving military parachutes and people with disabilities a second chance. So we purchase military parachutes and we recycle them, and we have a workforce with a variety of disabilities and sell and make products, and then we give back to veteran organizations, and our real passion of keeping people with disabilities employed, including disabled veterans. So our goals are to increase our workforce, build more jobs for people who are disabled veterans and have disabilities, and keep them employed by continuing to sell products. And we have my other guest here is Snapper, and Snapper is our spokes dog for Heaven Dropped, and she has a disability herself.
Well, good afternoon, Snapper.
I hope she doesn't live up to her name.
No, it's yellowtail snapper, like a fish.
Okay.
It's safe. So Snapper helps us to talk about our pet bandanas, which Snapper is wearing. She also, on occasion, will put on sunglasses with our glasses cord holder, all made from parachute material.
Can you do that now, or?
I'll give it a try. I'm
Okay.
not going to promise that it's going to work.
That would be a good.
Might be very briefly.
All right. She's styling very nicely.
Then she's styled.
Okay.
She's good, isn't she?
And this
Thank
is
you, Snapper.
okay.
Thank you.
And this is another product. This is a bracelet that's made from.
The actual authentic military, these have all been used by the military and then put up for sale because the parachutes can't be used to drop anymore. And we buy the cord and the chutes and then make pet bandanas and bracelets, and we have a lot of products in development, but we're trying to build. We launched Heaven Dropped on 9/11
Right.
this last year at a Patriots Day breakfast, and we gave away 800 bracelets to kind of introduce our products.
Right.
So we're a new fledgling entrepreneurial startup nonprofit. So, but we are a nonprofit with a mission.
Right. So has it been working very well for you?
It
How's
has,
things
the
been going?
products are awesome.
Good.
You know, there isn't anyone who doesn't want to connect to our military and support them. And Snapper's great at always helping us to get donations, and on our website, you know, you can either buy our products or you can just donate.
Right.
So we actually have it set up, and we're a 501c3, so all donations are tax deductible.
Which is very good.
Yeah, and we're hoping to design, we're currently working on some prototypes for a backpack for a hunter that will hold a gun and a bow and arrow. And we're also developing practice shorts for football players to
Oh, I was
wear
wondering.
not underwear.
And this is all made from parachutes.
All made from parachute material.
This is great.
So it's been I feel so privileged to have been asked to head this initiative up and to be able to make a difference with veterans and people with disabilities. So Snapper just makes my day brighter too, and she's just a gem. So
Well, Snapper is definitely, I guess, a good member of your team.
She
because
is.
she modeled those glasses,
Isn't she
and
good?
no problem.
yep.
And
she's
what is
good.
that other? What is this one for?
Oh, this is a bracelet.
This is a bracelet. It just clips in. Actually, these are pretty much everywhere in stores. The difference is ours is actual used military cord.
They're OD. I noticed
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they're not paracord.
Well, that's
they're
nice,
the
though.
real
Yes,
thing.
it is.
Yeah.
It's very good.
So we try to do that. And we have tie bandanas too, like Snapper's wearing. So you can see the quality of the cord. And
Oh, I thought maybe that might have been a bib.
no, well,
that's really
Snapper's
nice,
wearing
though.
it like a
I see,
bib.
I
Yeah.
see.
And so
I
now
need
all
one.
we have to do is go on your website.
Correct, and
um,
that's www.heavendropped. It's HEAVENDROPT. We took the DROPPED off of it to be different, so we made it HEAVENDROPT and .org, and you can look at our story. Our CEO of Evergreen actually founded Heaven Dropped here at MacDill. She was touring and saw them inspecting parachutes, and she raised her hand and said, what do you do with them when you can't use them anymore? And they said, well, nothing, we discard them. And so really that's where Heaven Dropped was born. Our CEO, Sue Buckholtz.
Right.
And after that tour, it's taken a couple of years to get it off its feet and get it going. But it's a pretty exciting endeavor to employ people with all kinds of disabilities.
Well, that is so good. And in this way, it's, again, helping veterans and it's helping everyone else. So,
Yes.
that's our main mission, is to make sure that whatever is being done is helping out veterans. And then, I like to say, anything that helps anyone, and like I said, again, especially veterans, is godsend,
Yes. Well, and
that's what we're
Snapper
looking for.
knows this well because Snapper is a therapy dog. So she actually helps people at the VA
Well,
and
that's,
goes different places as well. So
And that's what I was looking at also. There are so many dogs that are needed to help so many veterans also. So, a lot of good things come out of running into people who are there to help our veterans and to help people who are in need. And I really want to thank you for what you are doing and what your company is doing. And I wish you probably the best of success.
Thank you
because,
so
to do something is, so great, because so many people just sit back and look. They never want to get involved. It's always let the next guy get involved and we'll just look.
Yep. It's challenging and yet very rewarding because everything we do with Heaven Dropped helps us to make a difference. And it may be in little ways, but in the end, it's all good.
But you know what? In the end, if just one person is being helped,
Yes,
it matters dearly.
it does.
So we look at that, and if there are people like yourself out there helping veterans, out there helping anyone that really needs their help, regardless, that is a drop in that bucket, and it all adds up.
And it's wonderful that you have this show and you do all this to make all this available to people so they know what the resources are and what's going on.
Well,
so
we
I
try.
applaud your show. What a great service.
Well, we try.
Well, thank you, Nancy. We certainly appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Nancy, again, thank you, and let's see what happens, and we'd like to see you come back again.
All right. Thank you very much.
And you know where we are.
I do.
All
Thanks.
right, then. So until next time, hey, we'll see you then. Okay, bye-bye. Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Al Young. And it's really not another edition. We're still here at the museum, and guess what we have? All you have to do is look around the table, and it's a group of lovely people. And
Thank you very much.
Only come from the VA. Carl, you are lovely. I wouldn't want to date you, but you are lovely.
In my
I
time.
wouldn't want to date them either, but they are lovely. These are very serious ladies. They are the ladies from the Tampa VA, and I have one of the most intelligent people from the VA sitting next to me, and that's Miss Melody Chavez. And Melody, you're going to introduce the other ladies and tell everyone what they are here for. I understand there is a new and improved program that's going on at the VA, which I used to be a part of. It didn't really do very much for me because I wasn't a willing participant like I should have been. But this time, you're going to win me over.
All right. Well, I'm expecting your name to be signed up as soon as we leave here today.
You got me.
But no, thank you for having us today. My name's Melody, and I am the MOVE coordinator for the Tampa VA Hospital, our weight management program here at the facility. And I brought along part of our team members here. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Dr. Vanessa Milsom. I'm a health psychologist and work in the MOVE program.
I'm Dr. Rachel Samick. I'm a physical therapist, and I assist with the exercise portion of the MOVE program.
I'm Tara Tyler. I'm one of the dietitians at the VA, and I work with the MOVE program as well.
So we wanted to come today just to take the opportunity. There's been many changes with the program over the last year, and we just wanted to come and share that with all the veterans, and also if any of them are interested in coming and being a part of that, including you, we would love to have you.
No pressure.
No pressure. But no, in 2004, our VA became one of the pilot sites for the program, and then in 2005, the program was rolled out nationally to all VA facilities. So we had the program that's been going strong. However, in the last year, we've made several changes just to improve access for our veterans to be able to participate in the program, as well as incorporate other disciplines just to make it a much more comprehensive program for our vets.
Well, when I was there, to be frank with you, the MOVE program, I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. And I'd like to know, what have you done to, or what are you doing to improve upon what I thought was a good program anyway?
Okay. Well, some of our focuses in restructuring the program have been to improve access, like I just stated, for our veterans. We're reaching more veterans, not in specialty populations as well. Tara will be talking about one of our groups that's specifically for our women veterans. We're also going to be rolling out a program for our spinal cord injury veterans. We're also looking at services into the mental health department, and then as well as having evening and weekend classes as well for those veterans who are working and not being able to participate during the 8 to 5 hours.
Well, that is an improvement, because I know it was a particular time, and if you wasn't there, that was too bad.
I'll let Dr. Milsom talk about some of the other changes that we've incorporated.
Sure. So as Melody mentioned, access to the program is a big concern for us. So if people are really motivated to lose weight, we want them to be able to start a program quickly. We want to kind of capitalize on that motivation. And so before, we had several months before an open group might pop up. And now what we hope is that within a couple weeks, if veterans are interested, they have the opportunity to start a group. And then as Melody mentioned, there are also multiple groups throughout the week. So we have groups on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, as well as hopefully eventually expanding to evenings and weekends. And so we know that our veterans work really hard. They have jobs and kind of demanding lives. And so we want to try to meet them where they're at and offer them the opportunity to join a program that fits with their schedule. We've also reduced the size of the groups, so made them a lot smaller to allow for more individual attention, because that's really important. So our groups now are about 15 patients or less, just to allow for a little more kind of one-on-one time. And then I don't know if the nutritionists want to talk a little bit about this, but we've also added cooking demonstrations. So that was the number one requested issue that veterans mentioned is, it's great that we're talking about cooking, but we really want to learn a little bit more about it. And so every other week or so, we do kind of a mini cooking demonstration so they can get hands-on experience with that.
And Mr. Young, just to add to these changes, what we did prior to making these changes is we did have a group of veterans that were previously in the program to get their feedback. So we made sure that we had the voice of the veteran involved in these changes as well.
Well, when I can only say when I was there, and trust me, I was in the MOVE program for a while. I really did enjoy it, and I'm not just saying it just to be saying that. But the only bad thing about, I think, MOVE, and I think this is probably one thing that was going on with a lot of veterans, was the time. And like you said, cooking demonstrations, that was a kind of a biggie, because you hear about what they were saying about how things should be, but you never got hands-on.
Mm-hmm. And that's what our goal is that any veteran who's referred to our program, within a month they will be able to start a group, starting within a month. So like Dr. Milsom stated, we are going to we have groups currently right now on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, a group that's going to be starting on Thursdays. So we're having different groups at different times just to be able to provide that. And then also our groups now, prior, they were 4 hours long, which previously you were probably involved with, but they are now 90-minute sessions. So.
But there wasn't that big of an emphasis at one time, I think, on weight like it is now. I think that was another factor.
Let us talk about some of the changes, with the class schedule. If you guys want to expand.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking. I think that's one of the things that they had told us that country-wise, not so much VA, but I'm just thinking throughout the government itself didn't put that much of an emphasis on it.
Well, I think the more and more we kind of learn about all the different health conditions that are associated with being overweight or having excess weight, the more we've realized just what a big problem this is and how much we want to kind of tackle this as a VA. And so that's one of the reasons we've kind of made all these changes to the program, is to try to offer the best possible treatment that we can for our veterans.
And why it's so important that all of us are here today, we're coming from a physical activity level, behavioral health, nutrition. It takes all of us to work together to be able to provide the best services for our veterans.
Well, I'm not going to say another word, you guys.
So no, I would like to just talk a little bit about our current program now, which is our most intensive aspect, the 16-week program, and just the format of that program.
Sure. Well, so one of the elements that we've kind of done is to try to make things a little more exciting during the actual group. I don't know what your experience was like, but when there's a really large number of people in the room, it's kind of hard to do that. But with a smaller number of people in the room, we're able to do more kind of hands-on activities, just to keep people engaged and kind of keep things moving and just have it be more interactive in general. So I think that would be one of the biggest changes that I think you might notice if you kind of took a MOVE group now. And then there's been a number of other changes related to exercise, and I don't know if you want to speak about that a little bit.
I'm not exactly sure how the old MOVE program worked, but we've incorporated an exercise portion into the new MOVE program. It starts about week 7, and as a physical therapist, I'll come in and I'll explain to the group different aspects of physical activity and different principles of exercise and different precautions to take when you're exercising. And then we also invite them to come down to our rehab gym to do an exercise portion. It's almost one-on-one. It's 1-on-4, so 1 therapist and 4 patients. And it's pretty much a one-on-one quality where we'll get them out starting exercising and then help them progress into being able to exercise for longer amounts of time and incorporate that as a supplement or a complement to the nutrition portion of the MOVE program.
Well, I think that's I think all of that's needed, and it's totally revamped.
I think it also gives like a safe environment for these patients who haven't been moving and haven't been exercising to be able to move without reservation or without like, oh, am I going to hurt myself? So it gives a little bit more structure and support to them during that transition.
People like myself.
Well, I know in my clinic practice, my one-on-one, where I'm seeing patients, I'm a dietitian, so obviously we talk a lot about food, but inevitably this lack of physical activity comes up too, and it's frequent that my patients tell me, you know, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I don't know if I can walk that far, I don't know if I can do these things. And I think this is such a great asset to our program because it does give them a level of comfort knowing that they have a physical therapist, someone like Rachel, who's in the room monitoring their heart rate and paying attention to that knee injury that they have, or, you know, understanding that they've got back pain and there maybe needs to be some adjustments. I think it's a really, really good, I get really excited because I think it's just such an asset to our program.
Yeah. Another thing to remember is a lot of patients, you know, our preferred physical activity is walking. That's our preferred method. But some patients aren't able to do that at this time, so we find other alternatives for them to participate in to get them moving and get their heart rate up and to help them move along with the program.
Well, the average person who is at the VA, a lot of them, have all kind of, like you say, injuries, and it prevents them from doing a lot of things. So what you're doing now is you're monitoring them at the same time that you're giving them what they really need to get themselves on track. So if you're doing one, then we're taking care of something else at the same time. And I think that's great, because before it was just kind of, we're working on one something, and you know, if you can't walk or if you can't climb stairs, then hey, you know, you got to go see someone else in a completely different environment, or make an appointment, and it didn't always work.
I was an exercise instructor for many years, like about 25 or 30. But I have a program now with easy exercises that can be done in a chair, thinking of wheelchair vets. Well, wheelchair anybody, but it was vets. And I call it defensive exercises. Well, I said exercise. I was a martial arts instructor for about 35 years. I'm retired, no challenges. But the exercise was a part of that. Right now, and I'm a combat veteran, many. I do exercise. I exercise 3 times a week, and jump rope. Of course, not everybody likes jump ropes or can do it. I say jump ropes, meaning repetition. But that's my forte. If I can't jump rope, I can exercise. That's But I have exercises that people can do just seated in a chair.
You're a prime example of how important being active and moving through your entire lifespan is.
Oh yeah, when you're a martial artist, you learn to move quick.
And we hope to inspire our patients with that, you know, that desire of wanting to move.
Well, yeah, I try to encourage when I see a veteran, you know, to exercise. You know, they all look at me funny, but I do it anyway.
So with one of our changes, our program is 16 weeks long, which I know might sound as like a long time, but each week we build on different lessons. But what we first tell our veterans is when they start the program is our 4 objectives within the program. I'll let Tara talk about the objectives.
So when we first start talking about MOVE, historically the first thought that's come into people's head is weight loss. So you need to lose weight, we're going to put you into the MOVE program. But I think it's really important to let everybody know that weight loss actually isn't the first goal for the program. It's actually the third. So we really want to see people, first of all, improve the quality of their nutrition. So we want to see them make really healthy changes in their diet so that they're getting the most benefit from their food. I mean, we all know that food's not created equal, and a calorie is a calorie, but what that calorie brings along with it can be very important. So number 1 would be to improve the quality of their nutrition. We also want them to improve their health. We want to see decreases in things like cholesterol levels and hemoglobin A1Cs. We want their blood sugars to improve. We want them to become more active and moving more. And then our third goal would be weight loss. But we know, it seems weird to people, we do these big orientations where we have the patients come and we tell them all about the program, and when we get to number 3 and we say, okay, number 3 goal is weight loss, they are all like, they have these sort of confused looks on their faces, like I thought this was a weight loss program. But we know if we take care of goal number 1, improve your nutrition, and goal number 2, move a little bit more, that goal number 3 is going to come. You don't even have to worry about it, it's just gonna happen. And then our 4th goal would be improve your overall quality of life, which again, we know is gonna come. If you improve the quality of your nutrition and you're up and moving more, things are just going to be better. It's gonna affect mood, it's gonna affect the world outside of your food, and it just kind of expands from there, so.
So the main thing is if you take care of number 1, it'll take care of number 4.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think the reason is we don't want people to get kind of too obsessed with the scale. And the reason is the scale doesn't always do exactly what we want it to, even if we're really great about our eating and exercise. And so a lot of times people get on the scale and feel like I've made all these changes and it's still not moving, and they get demoralized. And so we kind of want to get them out of that cycle. And that's how this is different than dieting. That's how this program is really more of a lifestyle approach. So it's not just that we want to help people lose weight, but we want them to keep it off in the long term. And so weight's not the only outcome, because there are all these other really important measures of your health. It's not just about weight, it's about your blood pressure, it's about how well you're managing your sugar and preventing diabetes and all that good stuff. And so we don't want to kind of overly focus on weight and forget about the big picture when it comes to health.
So this is where it becomes like a team effort instead of just one person saying, do this.
Absolutely.
And, the person is focused on whatever. Because I think most of the time when we think about weight, we do associate weight, or when we think about a program, let's say Jenny Craig, we're a lot of times thinking about food and
Absolutely.
we're thinking about a scale. Now when we start thinking about MOVE, we're going to start thinking about more than just one thing.
Absolutely. I mean, diet obviously is a huge component of that. And as a dietitian, I would say it's a very important component. But the physical activity, the part where people like Rachel and the other physical therapists that we work with come into play, that's hugely important. We haven't even touched on the role that Dr. Milsom plays as a behavioral health psychologist, dealing with all of the non-food reasons that it can be very difficult to lose weight. So coming at it from sort of this 3-prong approach, I think, is one of the biggest changes that we've made.
So that's kind of where I come in. So a lot of times we certainly do have veterans who don't have maybe a ton of knowledge about nutrition or exercise, and so for them getting that kind of basic information is really helpful. But then there are a lot of people who feel like they know what they need to be doing. They already know that they need to be a little bit more active. They have a good sense of what they should be eating and what they should stay away from. But then actually implementing that in their daily lives is really tough. And we definitely understand that. And so that's why our team approach is really important. We're here to kind of help people make those behavioral changes day to day that are really tough to make. Because food is kind of all these little decisions that you have to make throughout every day, and that all kind of add up to this one end result. And so we're really here to help support people throughout that process.
Okay. Our main thing is that I kind of look at is that when you're looking at it, you're not just looking at it, again, like I said, in this 1 or 2 dimensional thing where food, scale, and that's it. We're looking at it in a kind of multifaceted approach where the person is getting food for thought. And when we look at food for thought,
I like that phrase.
And that there's a lot more going on than whatever.
Absolutely, and I think making a lot of these changes can be really overwhelming for people, and so there's some things to think about, and for anyone who's listening, just some things to think about if you want to approach weight loss. And one is to start small, to not get so overwhelmed or think about making a ton of changes right away, but to maybe pick 1 or 2 things that you want to work on, whether it's eating out less and cooking at home more, or reducing, let's say how many sodas or soft drinks you might have per day, or fried foods, and then really kind of building on that week to week. The other kind of number 1 thing that people can do if they're interested in losing weight is just to keep a food journal, to just start keeping a record of how much you're eating throughout the day and when. And that just kind of heightens your awareness of what you're doing, and really we find kind of changes people's behaviors. So when we write it down, we tend to eat less. So that's kind of another important thing for people to think about.
Well, I think with the information that's out there and the things that they should do and look forward to, maybe they'll go away with a broader horizon. Well, I guess if I'm using it correctly, with how to attack the weight loss, and not just weight loss, but actually how to think about food, how to think about what they should do, and just not just kind of go out there and say, okay, if I'm not losing the weight, the heck with it. If I'm not eating right, I don't care. Because I think a lot of times we got to support it all the way around. And ladies, I think what we can probably do is once the program actually starts, I need you to come back and let me know how it's going.
It has started.
No, listen. What I'm saying, once we've got people in, and we've gotten into a couple weeks.
Well, we are currently in our 9th group right now.
What?
We're running our 9th
Yes.
group. So
Where am I?
So we started in July. We're currently running our 9th group, our second women's only group. So for any veterans who are interested out there, get in touch with your primary care provider.
You know what? This is crazy. I'm sitting up here thinking, oh God, since I haven't joined, I guess then I'm thinking, well, it just started. Well, okay, then.
I'm going to get you on the VIP list.
Yes.
You're on the list.
So
All right,
Julie
and then we're
Harmon,
going.
He's already signed up.
Julie Harmon is our Move dietitian who unfortunately couldn't be here today because she's out running some groups right now. But you can call the VA or to your primary care, and they can send a referral to Julie Harmon.
Okay, then.
Okay.
Well, then I guess until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay. Did we get everything that we need to talk about?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. And Carl,
No,
until
thank
next
you.
time. This is Vermont Milk. Okay. You can talk. And welcome back to the Al Young Show. And to wrap things up today, we're still here at the St. Petersburg Museum of Natural History. And we have a gentleman with us who is the executive director, and that's Mr. Rui Farias. And he's going to talk a bit about the museum itself. We've had a wonderful day today. It's been a grand opening of a new exhibit that's here, which he's going to expand on also. But it's been really great. We had a lot of military individuals here. We had a lot of important people. So to expand on what was happening today, Mr. Frias is going to speak to us. Frias.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for being here today on this wonderful morning and afternoon where we actually got to unveil our brand new exhibit, The American Soldier. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
The Museum of History, the St. Petersburg Museum of History, has been here for 92 years, so we've been here quite a long time on the same location. Not the same building, mind you, but the same location. We're the oldest museum in St. Petersburg, and we're pretty much the caretakers of the city's history. Our mission is to preserve, protect, and showcase Florida history with emphasis on St. Petersburg and Pinellas County. So not only the exhibits that we have out for people to see that talks about or shows people the history of St. Petersburg, but we have an incredible archives and collections department on the second floor of the museum. And our archives department is actually used 2 or 3 times a week when it's open by newspapers from around the country, by college professors, by authors. We have all the city's original documents. We have the plots of, the blueprints of the city is upstairs. We had an exhibit not too long ago, which kind of ties into the American Soldier exhibit, of World War II propaganda posters. That we have an incredible collection of those upstairs. But St. Petersburg was like most of Florida at that time, basically a military training base during World War II. So our history here deals with the Native Americans, the arrival of the Spanish a little bit, throughout basically the golden age of St. Petersburg, the 1920s, when someone claimed that this city was developed by ink and advertising. Smoke and mirrors, maybe you might want to say. So we basically have all that on display for people to see.
Well, I understand that during that time, Tampa, St. Petersburg were known for a lot of connections to a lot of other, well, I guess, notorious cities. So I guess we have a lot of history going back.
We do, and Tampa and St. Pete shared about the same time. They shared the want to become a major city in Florida. Back then, Jacksonville was the biggest city in Florida. And with Plant bringing the train to Tampa, and eventually Peter DeMenz bringing the Orange Belt Railroad to St. Petersburg, it was the birth of these two cities. And from that point forward, they kind of went in opposite directions. Tampa primarily became an industrial city with the cigar factories, and St. Petersburg focused on tourism and being the place where America came to play.
Actually, this is my first time back into certain parts of St. Petersburg, and I realized just how beautiful it really is over here. And when I came into the museum today, and I saw the history of the baseball section that you have here, I thought it was really outstanding.
Well, right now we have 4 major exhibits, or 4 major sections of the museum, and one of them that you just alluded to is an exhibit we have called Schrader's Little Cooperstown.
Right.
It's the largest collection of autographed baseballs in the world, and it's been certified by the Guinness Book of World Records. And it's not just baseball players, although there are quite a few of them, including Babe Ruth and a lot of the greats of the game. But there's also celebrity balls signed by presidents. We even have balls signed by Fidel Castro that was there when he was a wannabe minor league baseball player back in the day before he decided to become a political leader. So that exhibit opened this past October, and it's been quite outstanding. It's been the main focus of the museum until we opened the new exhibit today. The other part of the museum that we're sitting in right now is called our Flight 1 Gallery, and we're sitting underneath a replica of the Benoit aircraft that basically flew the world's first commercial.
Benoit?
Benoit is how it's pronounced, yes. Thomas Benoit was the actual builder of the plane.
As Benoit in Vietnam.
There you go.
I'm sorry, it's close to my, I won't say close to my heart, it's close to my, well, what did I say? That's where it was our headquarters.
It was
66.
Amazing, amazing. Well, he was from the Midwest. He back at the turn of the century when everyone got involved, and back then, of course, there was no FAA, so you built the plane in your garage and pushed it out and tried to fly it. So he formed the Benoit Aircraft Company, and he made airboats pretty much.
I was very impressed because I interview pilots too, and in a couple of museums, but different states. But I was impressed that this was the first the area for the first commercial flight. That interests me a great deal.
There was a gentleman by the name of Percival Fansler who was out of Jacksonville, but he was a businessman, and he saw Florida as potentially the last possible frontier of the United States at that time. And he was right, because there were a lot more cows than there were people in Florida back at the turn of the century. And he saw aircraft. He'd heard about the Wright brothers flight, and it was only 10 years between the Wright brothers flight and the Tony Jannus flight of the Benoit here. So in those short 10 years, the whole aircraft industry was just growing by leaps and bounds by people experimenting, building other planes. And he saw the use of aircraft as a mode of transportation, scheduled transportation like trains or steamships. So he looked for venues to do this, and he went to Tampa first. And Tampa said no, they didn't want to do it. And then he came to St. Petersburg, and at that time, St. Petersburg was developing into the tourist mecca that it became and still is. And there was nothing here that we didn't want that would draw people here. I mean, we were just making stuff up to bring people here to St. Petersburg. And a bunch of the business leaders got together. They all pitched in the money. They paid for the hangar. They paid for the planes to come down here. And a young pilot by the name of Tony Jannus, and he was quite the ladies' man, quite debonair, and the whole era of being those pilots back in those days. And every time he flew, it's like he kept breaking world records. It's like he was the first pilot actually. He piloted the first plane of the first parachute jump ever out of one of his planes, like an airboat like that's above us. How would you like to be that guy? The first person ever to jump out with a parachute.
Not me.
No, me neither. He also broke the record for the longest flight because he flew down the Mississippi River and on one of these Benoit aircraft. So they brought the airline here to St. Petersburg, and they built a hangar right across the street, and the airboats arrived in crates. They put them together. They had some pretty big hoopla about this on January 1st, 1914 at 10 a.m. They had a bit of a competition to see who was going to be the first passenger, and they had a raffle system, and Abe File, who was the former mayor of the city, paid $400 back then, 1914, for a one-way ticket from St. Petersburg to Tampa. So they took off right here in the yacht basin. They flew about 50 feet off the water, 75 miles an hour, made it to Tampa in 22 minutes after a little emergency stop to fix a chain that popped off. And thus was the world's first commercial airline flight.
And the bridges weren't here then?
No, it was about a 7-hour drive to get to Tampa from St. Petersburg back then.
And they made it in 20 minutes, huh?
Yes. So it started. So when you hop on that jet now and you go on vacation to wherever you go or on business, you can thank Tony Jannus for flying that plane across the water.
Isn't that something?
It is amazing. So this is aviation, because we're the birthplace of scheduled flight of commercial aviation. Like we were joking about earlier, that the Wright brothers claimed to be the fathers of aviation. Well, our plane flew a lot further than theirs did, but it's a big part of our history. So our Flight 1 gallery is basically devoted to that. We have the baseball gallery. We have the actual St. Petersburg gallery, which tells the history of St. Petersburg. And now, of course, today we open the American Soldier exhibit.
And that's something you really don't hear about when it comes down to St. Petersburg a lot of times, because I think we hear things about cities, and we hear things about St. Petersburg, and it's kind of like, why isn't it really getting out to everyone?
Well, it's a lot of misinformation. I moved to St. Petersburg in 1967, and back then the city had the reputation of being the home of the newlywed or the nearly dead. And it took the city years to lose that reputation of we were just a city of retirees.
Yes.
And you know what? We were for a long time.
Yes.
And it wasn't always that way, because in the 1920s, when St. Petersburg, its golden years, when the Serena was built, the Vinoy was built, when the downtown park system was put in place, when a lot of that was happening here, we became a playground for the very wealthy. The homes that were being built were massive homes. I mean, they were selling for $80,000 in 1924. So there, you know, it wasn't a blue-collar, working-class town. It was a town. It transformed from a fishing village to what it started as, to a place truly where the rich and famous from around the country would come and play in the winter. So they would, you know, they'd get out of the cold and they'd come down and spend 3-4 months here. Then, in the businesses in St. Petersburg, this is when they made all their money. It was in the summertime, the city basically closed down except for the local fishermen. So during the 1920s, we were very hip. We were Vegas before there was Vegas. There were speakeasies. There were, you know, during Prohibition, it wasn't hard to find a drink or two in St. Petersburg. There were dances. There were lots of activities. There was nude sunbathing on Spa Beach in the solarium. I mean, we were a pretty hip town. And then we got the reputation of being a retiree city, and rightly so, because it evolved into that. So it took the city a long time to develop what it has now. And I have to be honest with you, growing up here, I worked downtown, and when I first started working downtown, I worked for the Festival of States and produced other events for the city of St. Petersburg on the waterfront. And it was a hard mission to get people to come down here, because they were like, "Oh, St. Pete, no thanks, boring,
Yes.
old, green benches, people with gray hair," you know. And now I remember, my career changed and I went away, and then I came back downtown and I looked around. I'm like, where did this come from? And I remember going out to dinner. It was 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, when downtown back in the day when I first moved here would have been shut down for hours already. And the sidewalks were packed, the restaurants were packed. I was like, holy cow. So we've actually, with this is our gem. This waterfront is the city's gem. I mean, it's just the most valuable resource.
I remember, I'm a writer. I wrote books. I remember James A. Mitchner had a condo here in
He did.
St.
He lived
Pete.
off of Eckerd College. Yes.
Yeah, he did. He taught, because he invited me over, and he gave me an hour of his time, but he was teaching at Eckerd.
Mm-hmm.
And as an actor too, I do some local films. I'm here in St. Pete quite often.
Well, it's funny because when I was younger and growing up and through college, and everybody, if you wanted to go out and have a good time, you went to Tampa.
Yes.
We always went to Tampa. And now there are city leaders who have come here, and the city council members from Tampa were here and took a tour of the waterfront, and one of them actually said, "This is what a downtown is supposed to look like."
That's where people start going. They
Exactly.
want to go to New York. They want to see a play on Broadway. And when you're, I guess now in St. Petersburg, when you've got all the museums in a particular area, well, then that's where people want to go. If they know that this is a place for fine art or fine anything, then let's go there.
I see you
that's
have a
what people
fine
do.
marina here too.
We do, yes,
Yeah, so-
we do. And the city's actually, the city leaders, a lot of the studies that they've commissioned in the past year, everything points to the fact that why can't we be one of those cities like you see in southern France or through the Mediterranean when people yacht into the city and visiting? So they're actually looking at figuring out how to have more moorings here for people to travel here by boat. So when they're traveling around Florida to come to boat here, why do you have to boat to Key West? Come here, look at everything we have, from the cultural aspect with art and museums and things like that here, to the entertainment, the hotels, the restaurants, and everything else that's here. The beaches, it's a 15-minute drive to the beaches from here. So.
And they still have not to change anything, but they still have a lot here for the military, and that's another thing that you're looking at, and that's what I'm looking at too. So you kind of got a little of everything for a little of everyone, and that makes a big difference in the way people look at things.
I think so too. And if you look at this area, if you just look at the museums and the exhibits that have opened, the Armed Forces Museum in Largo, incredible place. It's an incredible museum. The History Museum in Tampa, the changes we've made to this museum, because for years, I have to be honest with you, for years this museum basically was just you'd come in, you'd look around, and you'd see all the old St. Pete stuff, and we were like the keepers of all the old St. Pete things. And we've changed our focus now. We've become more of a cultural center where we've brought in that baseball exhibit, which still has ties to the city, of course. And last Sunday, actually, a week ago Sunday, I actually had the privilege of giving Julia Ruth, Babe Ruth's daughter, a tour of the baseball exhibit. She's 97 years old, and she was here for it's the centennial of spring training coming to St. Petersburg. So it was incredibly amazing listening to the stories as she was pointing to players and telling me all kinds of stories about them.
97.
Yeah, she's still with it. She was awesome. So we've changed from just being where you can come see old stuff to a cultural center where we have this baseball exhibit. Now we have the American Soldier exhibit, and we want to reach out to the military. But this has been the military has been an important part of our history here in this city. And in some of the I happen to teach a St. Petersburg history class, and some of the things that I teach my students is that the war saved the city. It was on the verge of bankruptcy, and they couldn't figure out. I mean, we'd made it through the Depression. World War II broke out, and it was great for our economy if you lived up north and you worked in a factory. But with all the rationing, the fuel rationing, the rubber rationing, nobody traveled. Tourism was dead. So it was almost worse for us than the Depression was. So when the federal government looked at St. Petersburg and Jacksonville and Miami and said, holy cow, look at all these empty hotels. We don't have to build barracks. We can just stick the soldiers in there and train them here. And that's what happened. I mean, it was a daily occurrence. And I've talked to people who lived in St. Petersburg during that time in the 40s. And they said they just got so used to getting up in the morning, going outside and pick up their paper, and all they'd hear were planes flying over and machine gun fire from the strafing of Fort DeSoto and stuff like that. So it was just a common occurrence here. We just became a training base, as did most of Florida back then.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You gave need, and listen, it just rabbles. I mean, it just comes off. It's a natural. Some people can talk about things because it's a part of them. And with you, I can see why you're where you are.
Oh, it is. Well, thank you. I mean, we love our product here, and our job is to promote this area's past. And I've always been a history geek.
Right.
So
it's evident.
Well, I tell the story when I was 8 years old and I grew up in downtown St. Petersburg, and I would pedal my bike down here on Saturdays and come through the museum and look at the mummy that we have and all the things that are here and the two-headed calf and everything else that's here. And the museum's it's come very far from those days.
Well, listen, can I come back to you then and grab some more information?
Anytime you want.
I think this was great, and I think the listeners will love this. Well, not listeners. I keep saying listeners. Everybody who will see this, because it was very wonderful having you on our show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Please come back.
Absolutely. Come back here anytime you need to.
Listen,
We're here. We're here for you.
This was great. Carl?
I'm a history buff. I enjoy history. As a matter of fact, here at St. Pete, I belong to the Florida Film Network. We meet here tonight, and I'll be here all day today.
Very cool. It's a great day for it.
Yes, it is.
This is a Chamber of Commerce day here.
A lot different than yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Okay, then. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, and we will see you next week.
With your luck.